it's Ann Taylor Pittman with CookingLight.com. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Today is a national holiday, so we are off today. This is a pre-recorded episode. I will try to anticipate, and I'm going to ask the crew here to help me anticipate any questions that you might have. But if we don't address any concerns or questions you have, please leave them in the comments and we'll get back to you, okay? So today I'm sharing a really great breakfast idea. These are cheesy egg nests with Brussels sprouts. It makes 2 servings. It's great for a weekday if you have a few minutes to spare. It's also fantastic on a weekend for a nice little brunch for you and your honey. So, your honey, you know. Okay, so I'm starting with a skillet over medium-high. I want to use a good nonstick skillet. It's important for this recipe that you have a nonstick surface. I'm adding 2 teaspoons of canola oil. You can use olive oil if you'd like. I'm just going for a really neutral flavor here because I don't want anything to compete with the flavor of the Brussels sprouts and the Parmesan cheese. So let me just kind of swirl this around. And then I have 1 small shallot that I've thinly sliced. Let me add that in. Just want a little bit of kind of oniony flavor. If you don't have a shallot, you can use a little bit of sliced red onion, or actually any onion, maybe about 1/4 cup, just to get a little bit of that nice kind of savory onion bite. It's going to be cooked, so it's not really going to give you bite, but it just gives you that extra dimension of flavor. Okay, so while that's going, I only need to cook that for about 15 seconds. It's probably been 15 seconds, but I'm going to hang on and talk a little bit more. Here I have 4 cups of shredded Brussels sprouts. You can find these a lot of times already prepped in the grocery store near the pre-prepped produce. So I know I've seen it at Whole Foods, Sprouts, I think Walmart, Target. So I buy mine at Target because I live really close to a Target. I'm using 4 cups, which if you're buying it at Target is 1 bag. It's 9 ounces of the Brussels sprouts. Now here's what I love about this recipe. Well, aside from the fact that it's really delicious. Here I'm starting with 4 cups of vegetables. This makes 2 servings. So each person gets a lot of vegetables. It's a great way to start your day. If one of your goals for 2019 is to eat more vegetables, here you go. You're starting off on a great foot. Okay, I'm gonna add in 2 tablespoons of water and then cover the skillet for a couple of minutes. And that's just gonna sort of steam the Brussels sprouts. They don't take long to cook at all because they're cut so thinly. That just needs to go for a couple of minutes. Now, while that's going, I should have mentioned that if your grocery store does not carry the pre-prepped Brussels sprouts, you can prep them ahead. I would say if you need a quick breakfast, prep the Brussels sprouts the night before. So you can shave them on a mandolin if you have one, or drop them in your food processor with the slicer blade, and then it'll make those nice thin shaved Brussels sprouts. Or you can always use a knife. Just be careful and slice the Brussels sprouts into nice thin slices. So, but do that the night before, just so you don't have so much prep in the morning. Okay, so I have 1 ounce of Parmesan cheese here that I have grated. Finally, you can certainly buy pre-grated Parmesan cheese. I always like to grate my own. I just think the flavor is better. But use what you have. I like this cheese as opposed to like a softer melting cheese because the flavor is much stronger. We're not using a ton of cheese. It's 1 ounce. It's going over 2 servings. So I want a cheese that's pretty assertive. So that's why I went with the Parmesan. It really behaves well in this recipe too. So you'll see what I mean in a minute. So like a softer cheese, a softer kind of melting cheese might not work as well in this recipe. You can use Asiago here if you want. What else?
Use
Pecorino, thank you. Perfect, yes. Okay, so I'm just gonna give these guys a stir. Turn my pan down a little bit. So they're already kind of softened. They're starting to brown a little bit. I love the smell of like Brussels sprouts that are browning. If you know what I mean, you know what I mean. I'm gonna stir in just a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I'm gonna shape these into the nests. 2 nests for the eggs. Okay, so I'm kind of roughly dividing the mixture in half here. And I'm gonna make an indentation in the middle of each one. I'm gonna crack an egg into there. So that's what that's for. It's okay if there's no separation here. It will all come together just fine. Okay, so I'm gonna sprinkle on the cheese. So it seems like a lot, yeah.
Sorry, could you do this without cheese if you aren't any dairy?
You absolutely could do this without cheese. If I weren't using cheese, I would go up on the salt a little bit because it will need a little bit more salinity. The cheese adds a lot of savory flavor. If you're not using the cheese, just go up on the salt by maybe another 1/8 teaspoon. Okay, then I'm just gonna crack 1 egg into each indentation. Large eggs. I'm gonna cover the pan. Wipe my hands. Okay, and that's gonna go for about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on your preference. So while that's going, I'm gonna turn the pan occasionally because I know that this burner has some hot spots. I'm gonna make a sauce. So this is great as is, but to me, what makes it even better is a little bit of sriracha mayo. So I have a tablespoon of canola mayonnaise here, to which I'm gonna stir in a teaspoon of sriracha. So one of my kids discovered sriracha mayo, so he had sriracha mayo and thought he had discovered something great, and I was like, dude, everybody's been eating sriracha mayo for years. But it was new to him. He discovered he likes it. And so we were at the grocery store and he saw some pre-mixed sriracha mayo and asked if we could get it, and we did, and you know what, it tasted awful. So if you're using sriracha mayo, I suggest stirring it up yourself. If you've got mayonnaise, if you've got sriracha, just make your own. I don't know why. I don't know what was in the version we bought, but it was just not very good. So I want this to be drizzleable, so I'm gonna stir in some water. So add a tablespoon of mayonnaise, whisked in with this great little baby whisk. A baby whisk is such a great thing to have on hand, by the way. If you don't have one, get one. I promise you're gonna use it more than you realize. I'm gonna stir in 2 teaspoons of water just to make this kind of a nice consistency. You'll see, it'll look great for the gram. Okay. I've got a couple of minutes here, I think, for my eggs to get done. I realize I forgot to grab a spoon, so I'm going to grab a spoon right here. And get my plates ready. So, turn the pan to avoid those hot spots. So each person also gets half an English muffin. So these are whole wheat English muffins that are split and toasted. You could also use toast, you know, just regular whole wheat sandwich bread. I just really love English muffins right now. I love this brand. I can't remember what the brand is. It's over here. Hold on, let me go find out. Rudy's. Rudy's English muffins. I just think they're really lovely. They are a beautiful shape. They toast up beautifully. They have all those nice little nooks and crannies, which is great for sopping up those wonderful egg yolks. So I'm gonna try to get this guy. I just want the eggs, I want them to be set enough so that the whites are done. I definitely like my yolks to be on the runny side. They still will be. Now, because we're covering the pan, the yolks are gonna film over with a little bit of white. So don't expect it to look like a sunny side up egg. It won't, it just can't, because when you cover it, just that white films over a little bit. That's okay, it's still gonna look great, I promise, I promise. Okay, so we got just another minute or so. It's really helpful here that I have a glass lid. So if your pan at home has or you have the option to use a glass lid, go ahead and use one, because it'll help you keep an eye on your eggs without having to open the pan too often. Okay, we're getting close. But we're gonna wait just a minute, just another minute. You know, I was trying to think of another vegetable that this would work really well with, and I don't know. I can't come up with anything right now. I'm sure, like, you know, I don't know if we're still spiralizing things, but a lot of the things that we spiralize, I think, would be a little too wet, too watery, would release too much moisture. So, like, you know, zucchini would release a lot of moisture. I don't know that that would be a great option here, but maybe it is. And if it is, and if you try it, let us know. I just think the Brussels sprouts work so well because they hold up and they're a little bit hearty. Oh, we're so close. We're so close.
And if you're not a big fan of spice, is there something besides or instead of the sriracha mayo that you might top your egg nest with?
That is a great question. So, first of all, if you're not a big fan of spice, for one, this is not super spicy. It just has a little bit of a tingle, but it's not hot, spicy hot. But that said, if you just don't want it, I'd say, you know, any sort of, you could drizzle with a little bit of really nice olive oil if you want just some richness. It will add a sort of a luxe quality to the dish. You know, you could stir in herbs and a little bit of buttermilk into the mayonnaise and make sort of a pseudo ranch dressing. That would be really lovely. I like having a sauce here. I think the Brussels sprouts kind of perk up with a little bit of sauce. Okay, I think these are good. Let me uncover. You see what I mean about the eggs sort of filming over? We don't have that sunny side up, you know, egg yolk look. That's okay. I'm going to take 2 spatulas. I've made these at home about 5 times, I think. And getting them out of the pan is a little bit tricky, but if you have 2 spatulas, they work well. Okay, so I'm going to lift this out. Here we go. And try to preserve the shape of my little Brussels egg nest. Ooh, some of these got a little charred on the bottom, which I think is delicious. That's going to be my first bite, is a little bit of that crispy brown Brussels sprout. Okay, so there's one. Let me give him his little English muffin. And remember, we have sauce that's going to go on, so that's going to really perk up the look of this. Okay. Let's drop some along the way. I want to get all that good Brussels sprout goodness. Okay. Let me just sort of shape these up on the plate a little bit. So, again, this makes 2 servings. It takes from start to finish about 12 minutes. So this might be a bit much for you on an average weekday, or just make yourself get up a little early or set aside some time. So here's the fun sort of drizzle part. Yum, yum. Oh yeah. We've got our sort of thinned out sriracha mayo here. It's going to flavor those Brussels sprouts. Just give you a nice little boost here in the morning. You're getting tons of vegetables this way. It's a great way to start the day. And each serving is only 350 calories. So this wonderful breakfast, 350 calories, 5 grams of fiber, and 19 grams of protein. So satiating, filling, a wonderful way to start the day. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I hope I addressed any questions that you might have had, but again, if you have questions that I did not address, please leave them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. If you're watching on Facebook, please like and share this video. And if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe so you'll get notifications whenever we go live. Thanks so much. I'll see you next week.